Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Good morning. Can you flash your sweetest smile for us all? It's so nice to be here. Let me start now. The year 2011 is the 10th anniversary of the International Year of Volunteers, or IYV plus 10, and the United Nations has called for the meaningful commemoration of the event by way of a global celebration that involves UN agencies, international development agencies, governments, civil society organizations, and volunteers. We have our volunteers with us today. Can we give them a round of applause? The United Nations Volunteers Program serves as the global focal point of the celebration with the theme Volunteering for the MDGs. President Benigno S. Aquino III issued on January 10, 2011, Proclamation Number 92, declaring the celebration of IYV plus 10 in the Philippines with a Philippine National Volunteer Service Coordinating Agency, or PNVSCA, as the national focal point. The House of Representatives also issued Resolution Number 183 on October 11, 2011, supporting the meaningful celebration of IYV plus 10. I guess that deserves another round of applause. Thank you. As a major contribution to this significant event, the National Volunteer Month Steering Committee, IYV plus 10, National Committee chaired by the National Economic and Development Authority, or NEDA, decided to publish a country report on the state of volunteerism in the Philippines covering the period 2001 to 2011. This report is aligned with the Global State of the World Volunteerism Report produced by the UNV. The launch of these two important documents, the Philippine Country Report and the State of the World Volunteerism Report, will be highlights of our conference today. Please rise for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem, ladies and gentlemen, to be followed by a doxology.
Tayo po ay magsitayo, ilagay ang kanang kamay sa dibdib, at awitin natin sabay-sabay ang pambansang awit.
Ay
na walang hinihintay mula sa'yo na makibakang di naalintana mga hirap na dinaranas sa tuwin ay magsumikap na hindi mo mahanap ng kapalit na turuan mo akong maging bukas palad. Turuan mo akong maglingkod sa iyo na magbigay ng ayon sa nararapat na walang hinihintay mula sa'yo.
Thank you. We may now be seated, please. The National Volunteer Month Steering Committee, IYV plus 10 National Committee, is chaired by the National Economic and Development Authority. To welcome us all, may I request the Secretary of Socio-Economic Planning, the Honorable Cayetano W. Paderanga Jr. for his message.
Thank you. Dr. Jackie Badka, Director Tolitz Divera, Ms. Severina Volante, fellow volunteers. The only reason we are in government is we are volunteers. Our partners in government, by the way, all volunteers, I'd like to welcome from both domestic and international volunteers, academia, the private sector, and all the other organizations. Good morning. Let me welcome you all to the National Conference on the State of Volunteerism in the Philippines from 2001 to 2011. In a few moments, we will launch two important documents which show the contributions of volunteerism to national and international development. The UNV State of the World Volunteerism Report and our own Philippine Country Report on Volunteerism. We are aware of the significance of volunteerism in empowering people and in building communities and societies. Sometimes, however, we take for granted most of the volunteering efforts and their effects or impact on our lives and that of the people. It is thus very timely that as we celebrate the 10th anniversary of the International Year of Volunteers, the first country report on the state of volunteerism in the Philippines has been prepared, thanks to the National Volunteer Month Steering Committee and the IYV plus 10 National Committee. I hope this country report will be a regular project of the committee and PNBisca. I would like to receive regular reports from PNBisca. Along the way, it can be continuously updated and refined to comprehensively reflect the developments and issues in volunteerism in the country. I call on all of us here to join hands in sustaining this pioneering initiative through our continuous cooperation in volunteer services and in contributing to the enrichment of information on volunteerism for future reports. May I thank the following for their contributions to the completion of the pioneering report. First would be the members of the NVM Steering Committee and the IYV Plus 10 National Committee. Second would be the NEDA regional offices and the Regional Planning and Development Office of the Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao. All of these, they coordinated the consultation of all the stakeholders. The United Nations Development Program and the United Nations volunteers for supporting the report publication, and to all individuals and organizations who participated in the preparation of this report. My sincere thanks also go to the study team, Ms. Volante, and Dr. Grace Dalisay, the study advisor. They volunteered, she volunteered not only her time and expertise, but also her inspiring vision to produce the report. Let me thank you all for coming here today for what is actually a very important day, us getting together and talking about the things that we have done and what we can do. So allow me to welcome you today, and let me be the first to wish you Merry Christmas and the best of holidays. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Secretary Paderanga, for your very warm welcome and Christmas greetings, and as well as setting the context of today's event. Today, the State of the World Volunteerism Report is being launched at the United Nations headquarters in New York and in various venues around the world. To lead the launch in the Philippines, we are privileged to have no less than the United Nations Resident Coordinator in the Philippines and Resident Representative of the United Nations Development Program. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome Dr. Jacqueline Badcock.
Thank you. Secretary Paderanga, Executive Director of PNB, SCA, and distinguished researchers, volunteers, both national and international, ladies and gentlemen, magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. As we assemble here today, a human rights lawyer is advising a refugee in Iraq. A doctor is attending an HIV patient in Namibia, and a young man is cutting the hair of an elderly gentleman in Germany. A midwife is assisting a woman deliver a baby in South Sudan. An engineer is drawing up a plan for the village community center in Bolivia while working from his home in Indonesia. And a retiree is combing the hair of a young cancer patient in Australia. And all these people are volunteers. Right now, here in the Philippines, someone is offering a helping hand to someone who needs it out of free will, and they are saving lives and sustaining humanity. This is the power of volunteerism. Today, I'm here to launch a very important report, the State of the World's Volunteerism Report, commissioned by UNV. The report captures the value of volunteerism on a global scale, the value of solidarity, commitment and respect, and it deepens the understanding of the impact that volunteerism can have on our lives. It is also the first time that an organization is attempting to acknowledge and recognize the work of volunteers all over the globe. Today I am going to try and show you the relevance and importance of this report to the work we do and how it affects our lives. We hope through this report to change the perception of volunteerism to that of an essential component of change and progress. We hope that everyone will come to recognise volunteers are an essential and yet often only partly recognised and tapped sustainable renewable asset that can help make all our lives better ones. I would like to focus on three main themes of the report. First, why the report is launched now. Second, what are some of the unique characteristics of the report? And third, why does this report matter? So, to the first question, why this report now? We hope the report is bringing a renewed focus to volunteerism. Since 2001, we've had greater recognition of the achievements of volunteerism, but it has still not been enough. Volunteerism still often remains under the radar screen. The 2001 International Year of Volunteerism brought a new dynamism and a new recognition, but we need to take it further. With this report, we hope to bring a new energy and awareness about volunteerism in society and its contribution to the peace and development debate. This report is an attempt to bring recognition to the millions who are volunteering their time and energy doing crucial peace and development work in disaster, environmental, or in humanitarian situations. Millions of people around the world volunteer their times and skills. In fact, in a study of just 36 countries, it was estimated that there are 140 million people who volunteer at a given time in just those 36 countries. Now, if you imagine if those 140 million people made up a country called Volunteerland, it would be the 9th largest country in the world. On this 10th anniversary of the International Year of Volunteers, we have an opportunity to launch a report that extends awareness. As the UN focal point for the International Year, the UNV programme has undertaken this study to focus attention on the importance and contribution of global volunteerism. We are all facing the daunting task of achieving the Millennium Development Goals and countless other development challenges in many countries around the world. Volunteerism is a key ingredient that can respond in a positive way to these challenges and change the way we approach development. We need the participation of millions of citizens in order to achieve those Millennium Development Goals. This is an opportunity and a time to recognise this untapped resource and place it in the centre of development discourse, especially as we move towards Rio Plus 20, or the Convention of Human Sustainable Development, which will take place in Brazil next year. Let me give you a local example. In the Philippines, the recent tragic floods brought about by the last two typhoons, Pedring and Kiel, have once again tested the resilience of this beautiful nation. But they have provided a new opportunity for a large part of society to exercise Bayanihan, the local term describing volunteerism, from helping their neighbours to distributing food and to cleaning up once the floods subside. Bayanihan is deeply rooted in the national and local cultures of the Philippines. So what are some of the unique characteristics of this report? It challenges some dominant misperceptions, including that volunteering is associated exclusively with altruistic acts of helping others. This is a point of view that results in vastly underestimating the range and impact of volunteer action. Instead, the report locates volunteerism at the heart of an emerging development agenda, linking volunteerism's contribution in sustainable human development, in disaster relief, in environmental stewardship, in poverty reduction, health, education, and much more. The report demonstrates that volunteerism permeates every aspect of life and every culture. It challenges the pre-existing perception that volunteerism is a northern-based or Western phenomena, or that there is a predominant north to south participation. In fact, it is not just a philanthropic action for the rich. Volunteerism is widespread among the income poor. And female and male volunteers contribute approximately the same number of hours. All of us here today have been volunteers, formally or informally, at some points in our lives. We all have a desire to contribute, a hope to partake in our common humanity, and a desire to extend a helping hand where it is most needed. The evidence is overwhelming. Volunteerism is the foundation of traditional society, and it's the glue that keeps those societies together. In southern Africa, it is called Ubuntu. In Indonesia, it's called Gotong Royong. In Ecuador and Peru, it's called Mingas. In the Philippines, it's called Bayanihan in Luzon, Paina in Visaya, Kapamagogopo in Mindanao, among many other terms in all regions around the country. These are all expressions of people's voluntary engagement in their communities. It may be a different word, but it's the same concept, no matter what the language. It's a drive to engage voluntarily in your own community to change things for the better. Studies have shown that people who volunteer are much happier and they live longer lives. So I hope you're all taking note of that. Volunteerism brings compassion and a sense of connectedness. It brings a sense of cooperation at the community level, a feeling that can foster solidarity, improve development effectiveness, and also contribute to the peace and development in general. And there are new trends that are helping to further this sense of connectedness. The report highlights three major trends in the wake of globalization and the digital age. Migration and travel are transforming the way people volunteer. The private sector has an increasing involvement in volunteerism, and information and communication technologies are opening up new means of civic engagement. Volunteering is joining the modern age. Take, for example, online volunteering, which is on the rise despite the significant gap between developing and developed countries in terms of internet access. Rashid is a young man in Pakistan who started an NGO to serve people with disabilities in his country. Rashid works with a group of 10 volunteers who are part of UNV's online volunteering service, and they together help the NGO function. Rashid's team writes grant proposals, creates guidelines, and develops strategic plans. And this is all accomplished online. The UNV program manages the online volunteer service so that thousands of people can volunteer from their homes. There's no longer an insurmountable distance between those who want to offer their skills to communities that need their help. It can be as simple as a cell phone. In Rwanda, for example, the government has distributed cell phones to the volunteer health workers who travel into rural areas. Thanks to these cell phones, volunteers can send an emergency alert to help a pregnant woman in distress. They can monitor the situation and provide support long distance. This is the new age of volunteerism. Finally, let me come to why does this report matter? It matters because people are the wealth of a nation. And if people are the wealth of a nation, then volunteerism must be the currently unacknowledged renewable asset of nations. We cannot ignore this wealth anymore. We cannot ignore this untapped asset that can truly be a force for the future of development. It matters because it brings sustainability to development activities. It improves ownership. When you engage people in the development of their own communities, there's a strong sense of ownership. It brings a sense of recognition and a need to sustain that development gain. It matters because until now, volunteerism has remained largely absent from the peace and development agenda. The report shows that the full potential of volunteerism can only be unleashed when it is recognized as a powerful and universal asset and a vital component of the social capital of every nation. If we are to achieve the Millennium Development Goals and other development goals, the engagement of people is integral to development, and we need to recognize those who are engaged. The report matters because volunteerism contributes to the well-being of both individuals as well as society. The proof is in the healthcare workers I talked of earlier in Bolivia. The proof is in those students in India. It matters because this report brings the marginalized back to the mainstream. It moves people from exclusion to inclusion. It provides opportunity for ownership and responsibility for their own sustainable future. It matters because volunteering matters. You, the volunteers, matter. It is why we have invested in creating the State of the World Volunteerism Report. And now I call on you, all of you here, not to forget this untapped asset. Koluyasa Johnson is a volunteer in Liberia. In 2009, she chaired a committee to organize local volunteers to help build a much-needed bridge in her community. The bridge may be just a small structure, but it meant that when the annual floods came, not only could the elementary and junior schools stay open, but that villagers could safely cross the river without having to brave water-borne diseases and other hazards. Kolu Johnson built a bridge to better the lives of a small village in Liberia. We have the opportunity to build a bridge between the work of countless volunteers around the world and the dreams that we have for a better world. We can build a bridge between the integral role volunteerism plays in development and begin a discourse that recognizes the value of these actions. I invite you all to join this discourse and to join us in action so we never forget those people, the volunteers that are the wealth of a nation. I hope you will all share your experiences from your communities and the volunteerism in your region, as I trust this will further inspire us all as you witness the power of volunteerism in action by UNVs and the many, many national and international volunteers working all over the Philippines, dedicating part of their and your lives to improve that of others. Finally, let me thank all the partners of today's event and the many partners of the International Volunteer Day 2011 and the 10th anniversary of the International Year of Volunteers. I wish you all a fruitful experience today, and let's keep high the spirit of Bayanihan as it contributes to shaping a better future for the Philippines. I declare the report officially launched. Nabuhay at Manila.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jacqueline Badcock, for launching the State of the World Volunteerism Report in the Philippines. Before we proceed, let us acknowledge the presence of the person who initiated the House Bill on IYV plus 10. He is no other than the Honorable Congressman Isidro Umal. Maraming salamat po. Let us now proceed with another important part of the conference, the launch of the Philippine Country Report. To present the highlights, may I call on Ms. Severina Volante.